I woke up this morning and did my daily sort of routine thing, and then I got a call from the insurance company from yesterday. Um, it was the supervisor of the person managing my claim, and he was like, how can I help you? What's going on? I told him I want to check. And he said, it looks like here that a check was mailed out to you yesterday. I said, okay, can you please send me email confirmation of that? He said, yes. And that was that. So I have a check coming in the mail for $790, which is a blessing. Let's be clear. Playing with house money here, so that feels good. And winning, that feels good. And I'm glad that I could come back to remembering that instead of getting attached to house money and being upset that I didn't win more house money. Because yesterday after I logged off and I was like, all right, I'm going to go look for estimates. I spent the day looking for estimates. I got a bunch of them from $500 to $900 to $1,100. The one that I sent the insurance company was the $1,100 one, and they were like, no, but they didn't have any reason for that. They just said no. We can't issue a estimate supplement until our estimate has been shown to a certified collision repair shop, and they determine that there is necessity for a supplement. And to me, that was no reason, because I had already shown them a collision repair shop's assessment, and it did determine, not relative to their estimate, but also relative to their estimate, that a supplement was necessary. In the fact that their estimate did not incorporate the price for complete bumper assembly, including clips necessary for assembly and retainer necessary for assembly. They also had like under market value prices for their bumper cover part and absorption pad part, which I was able to determine from comparing multiple different estimates. So I said all this to her, and she was like, no. So I was like, all right, I want to talk to your supervisor. And then by the time I caught that call from the supervisor today, I was just like, okay, they don't care. I want 793. That's plenty. I want check. Done. Get out of my mind. Because doing all of that thinking and arguing and reasoning with no guarantee that any of it will have any benefit, especially because it was clear that there was no benefit to it in the moment, it just is uncomfortable and unwholesome and felt kind of greedy. It's like, all right, they're clear that here's 793, and I'm like, all right, well, the reasonable thing means that I want more. But maybe I don't want to be reasonable, because do I really want more? Like, what? An extra $350 without a compromise for the loss of my peace and negative emotion and And even what is an extra $350? Like, I don't know that I even want to have money at all. So it's like, maybe that money actually is more of a curse than a blessing, sort of extending my worldly footprint, increases my worldly footprint. That's for sure. Not that I don't need some worldly footprint to even get to the monastery, start moving closer and closer towards complete renunciation. But that's sort of the paradox of it, is I need money to give up money. Isn't that funky? And I guess I don't. I could give it all up right now. I could be just, homeless, stranded in this moment with nothing, just on the street. Could do. Not unheard of. Not unheard of. It's a sign. You didn't see that. But so, anyway, I saw confirmation that $790 check is on the way to my old address, so I'll get to go pick that up. I won't have to work for a good while. I'll be able to pay for my phone bill for at least 6 months. So yeah, definitely a blessing. I mean, no question, and it feels good that I don't have to even think about it again, because really that's what I was like, oh gosh, like this is such a bummer to try to figure out. Like, I'd rather just like sort of take what's there and then not look for anything more, not try to force anything else. Because I mean, from where I was, like, I was willing to just write the whole thing off and be like, all right, like, I just have a small dent in my rear bumper now. That's okay. But now I also have $790 in my pocket. Okay. It's very convenient for right now. And part of me was like, oh, maybe this is Mara, showing up at the worst possible moment. That did flash across my mind when the incident initially happened. That was like one of my first thoughts. It was like, okay, like in the context of my greater intention to use this vehicle as my way towards complete renunciation and as its own form of renunciation. It's like, okay, maybe Mara's showing up like, all right, everything is impermanent. This too can be taken. As like a sort of like, oh, now you're gonna grab onto the vehicle, right? Because now you see it can be taken, so grab on tight. I'm like, no, wait, I don't want to be doing that. And then this money thing came up, and it's like, oh, I'm grabbing onto the money. I'm like, wait, I don't want to be doing that either. So it feels so good for it to be the balance back to be zero. And now what? Now that check is on the way. I'm just gonna keep, going into Lyft and having coffee. And today I'm gonna go to a Dharma meeting, and playing Settlers of Catan. I still got my doctor's appointments coming up. Seems okay. These things seem okay. Oh, and I'm working on making amends as part of this 9th step of my 12-step program. So I'm going to be reaching out to people who I have wronged in the past and sort of just making an effort to apologize, take responsibility for those actions that I did do, and then also just send goodwill, like check in with their being. Like, hey, yeah, I did some unkind things. I'd like to make that right. And then also send you kindness. So, that's what I got on my agenda. I don't know how that'll line up with me going out of town. I think it's okay, though. I guess I'll try to, get the majority of it taken care of before I get out of town. Because, like, my mom is in Mexico, so, like, I don't want to really do the amends over the phone. I'd rather be in person with her. I don't know how that'll manifest, so it's sort of a long-term kind of thing. But, so, the first step was to just reach out to a friend of mine from a long time ago who I sort of ghosted on accident. Not on accident. I told them I was going to ghost them, sort of way. I was like, all right, I'm going to go become a monk. And then I did go try to become a monk and completely stopped talking to most of my life. And we were really close friends at the time, but we haven't spoken since. That was like 5 years ago. So I'm like, hey, what's up? She's going to be like, are you a monk? I don't know. I'm like, no, like, still, courting the monastery. So yeah. Yeah, Ajahn Sona talked about, once you have desire, you're in debt, because I won't be happy until the condition is met that I desire. And then I'm happy, and then that doesn't last, and then there's something else that I desire. So, yeah, I'm going to show up in the monastery. It's going to not be everything I hoped and dreamed. It's just another condition. So the practice isn't for the sake of the monastery or for the sake of renunciation. It's for the sake of just being okay with what is. Yeah, I practice renunciation as a skillful means towards being okay with what is. I'm sure you can tell, but my thought energy is much more like sort of high frequency, a little bit agitated. But I can tell with these last 2 days just being... That's okay. I'm sure it'll change some way or another. I don't mind it, actually. I feel like my ability to speak words is it's there, like the next thing I want to say is just right there, because the thoughts are so like, so it translates very smoothly into the verbal world form. So there's some benefit, some sort of agitated unawareness associated too, so that's not all good or bad, just sort of another form of energy manifesting. I'm gonna wrap up this and go get a lift in. I want to also clear up my to-do list, because now that it's got the 9th step thing, I want to take inventory of who is on my 9th step and what exactly that requires. I've already done that in the past, but I want to clearly write it down. I did it in the past mentally in conversation with my sponsor, so yeah, thanks for the check-in. Still on the journey, bumps and everything included. I'm gonna go on to the next.